What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm the Wyoming Guy, and you're watching the Wyoming Guy Show. And today, this episode of the Wyoming Guy Show is going to be a little bit special. All right. Originally, I was going to do the Wyoming High School boys and girls basketball review so far through the winter season. And then my friend sent me this link, and the link said, and basically he said, don't open this link and read it. Turn on your camera, click on the link, and then read the list. And see if I could relate to it. And the list is, you might be from Wyoming if. And I do know it was from 101.9 The King, which I believe is a rock and roll radio station in Cheyenne. And so I just opened the list. I don't know what it says. And so I'm going to read it with you today and see if I and we can relate. Cran grape. Can't beat cran grape. Apple juice is pretty good, but cran grape, it's like two of the greatest things in the world mixed together. Cranberry and grape. All right, sorry to get off track. You Might Be from Wyoming If, by Jeff Foxworthy, posted September 10th, 2016. All right, here we go. Number 1. If vacation to you means going shopping for the weekend in Casper or Cheyenne, while the kids swim at the Comfort Inn. All right, well, I'm from Kemmerer, and so Evanston and Salt Lake are kind of our towns, and I actually cannot think of another hotel in Wyoming other than the Comfort Inn. I do think there's a Motel 6, but Comfort Inn and Motel 6 are the only two places I can think of, so that's funny. All right, that's funny. And I have swam at a hotel multiple times in Salt Lake City, so that's funny. Number 2. If parking your car for the night involves an extension cord. But I feel like that's most diesel vehicles. You have to plug your truck, I guess, in to, you know. But I feel like that's everywhere that's cold, so can't relate to that one. If you consider it a sport to gather food by drilling through 8 inches of ice. All right, first of all, that's called ice fishing. All right, and it is a sport, and it is competitive. All right, what's more fun than sitting on a frozen block of ice in a frozen tent while you're freezing, getting fish out of the ice? It's great. It's so much fun. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, number 3. If you're proud that your state makes the national news primarily because it houses the coldest spot in the nation. I believe that's between Pinedale and Big Piney, but I'm not quite sure. I can't quite think of the name of the place, but I do know what they're talking about. And Big Piney and Pinedale, those are some cold places. All right, you go up there and it's cold. So, and that's coming from me, from Kemmer. That's cold. And in Powell, where I go to school, Powell is up by like Cody. Powell is actually relatively mild. It's actually a pretty nice place. It's not too cold, doesn't snow a whole lot, and so there are parts of Wyoming that are actually fairly nice, but there are definitely parts of Wyoming that do get a lot of snow. You literally move wrong and it changes the atmospheric temperature, and it's just a blizzard all of a sudden. Right? And people from Wyoming, we get how to drive in the snow. All right, if it's like a blizzard outside, don't drive. All right? Getting your mail 2 weeks late is not an uncommon event. All right? Just don't drive. If it's a blizzard outside, don't drive. Common sense. All right. Number 4. If your local Dairy Queen is closed from November through March. All right, in Kemmer, we didn't have a Dairy Queen. We actually had the Polar King, which I'm assuming is the same thing. But I do believe it was actually closed. I remember it was pretty good, but I do believe it's actually closed during certain times. But I'm not sure. It might actually be open all year round. Number 5. I actually lost what number I'm on, so I'm just going to stop saying numbers. If someone in a store offers you assistance and they don't work there. Well, yeah, in Kemmer we had the Jubilee. I know in Powell we got at least 2 stores, but they're relatively small. So I mean, if you've been there once, you're probably an expert. So yeah, that's pretty accurate. If your dad's suntan stops at a line curving around the middle of his forehead. I'm assuming that means a cowboy hat. But cowboy hats are like designed to like block the sun, so I don't know. I really don't get that. Maybe it's talking about a hat. I'm not sure. If you have worn shorts and a parka at the same time. All right, if I'm gonna wear a coat, I'm just gonna wear blue jeans. And honestly, no one. I got some horrible looking feet, so I wear boots to begin with. All right, I mean they look like bobcat feet. All right, I got terrible looking toes, so I just wear pants all the time. But I'm sure there are some people who wear shorts and a heavy coat. If your town has an equal number of bars and churches, that I think is actually fairly accurate. All right, because I do know there are a lot of churches. I know in Kemmer there was at least 5, maybe 4 now, but I know there was at least 5 at one point, and I don't know how many bars there are. All right, if you know how to correctly pronounce Du Bois, Kemmerer, and Fontenelle. That's how you pronounce them. Du Bois, Kemmerer, and Fontenelle. All right, Kemmerer, it's You got to say both of them. All right, Kemmerer is actually a pretty big deal. Okay, the first JCPenney was there, and I believe the owner of the Lakers was from there at one point. Like the guy who maybe owned the Lakers before. I don't know whether he owns them anymore. But I do know that the owner of the Lakers actually was from Kemmer, or the former owner was from Kemmer. And then Du Bois. Du Bois is a great place, kind of a little touristy place, but it's really awesome. But it's kind of out there. It's kind of a hard place to get to. So that's Du Bois, Kemmerer, and Fontenelle. If you measure distance in hours, well, let me think here. Distance in hours. About an hour to Evanston, about 2 hours to Jackson, about maybe 2.5 to 3 hours to Rollins, about an hour to Rock Springs. So yeah, I would say that's actually fairly accurate. I do measure distances in hours. I honestly do not know the distance between Kemmerer and Evanston, but I do know it takes about an hour to get there. So that's funny. That's accurate. I will agree with that. If your family vehicle is a crew cab pickup. Oh crap, it is. I own a crew cab, and I know my dad owns a crew cab. So that's accurate, all right? If you're gonna live in Wyoming, you need a 4-wheel drive, all right? So, you know, when it's time to put rubber to the road, you better have a 4-wheel drive because you just don't know what you're gonna come in contact with. And a crew cab fits the whole family, all right? Looks good. You can put a pair of horns right there on the front, all right? You got the heat going, the radio blasting. You're ready to put the family on the roll, all right? So I will agree with that. If you know several people who have hit a deer more than once. All right, my school bus when I was like 10 years old hit a deer. So I do agree with that. My school bus has hit a deer, and I've met people who have hit a ton of animals. And that's actually a pretty dangerous thing. People don't realize. If you hit a moose, like a moose is a big, big, big animal. If you hit a moose, that bad boy is coming through the windshield, all right? And it's coming right on top of you. Moose and elk, and maybe even deer have killed people because of how they... Like the moose and the elk fall into the windshield, but I do know a deer can do some serious damage to your car. And so, yeah. And my school bus has hit a deer before, so I will agree with that. But that was like when I was 10. So, yes, I do know people who have hit deer more than once. If you often switch from heat to AC in the same day and back again. 80 degrees is pretty warm, all right? And I think that's anywhere. I think most people can agree with me. So if it's, you know, if it's kind of cold in the morning and you got to wear some jeans and a sweater, and then, you know, after school, it's time to get in the truck and it's a little toasty, or you probably have to throw on some AC. I just usually throw down the windows, though. You know, let Mother Nature just flow through my hair, flow through my beautiful mullet, all right? Sometimes you just got to let the window down and let Mother Nature take care of you, all right? All right. If you can drive 65 miles per hour through 2 feet of snow during a raging blizzard without flinching. All right, anybody who's driving through 2 inches of or 2 feet of snow going 65 miles an hour, that's just a horrible idea. Like I said before, people from Wyoming, they get it. Okay? If it's like a blizzard outside, I'm not going outside. All right? And I don't need anything out there that's worth my life. All right? Because if you get stuck, the chances of somebody actually being able to get to you is very, very slim. All right? So be smart. Don't drive 65 miles an hour through 2 feet of snow. It's just a horrible idea. If you see people wearing hunting clothes at social events. All right, that's just a coincidence, all right? But first of all, it's called camo. This is Realtree Extra. And these bad boys are Max 4 camo, all right? No one calls it hunting clothes anywhere, all right? This is called camouflage, all right? And I will agree, I do wear, because it's comfortable. What can I say? This is like cotton on the inside. It's warm, all right? Hunting clothes have, you know, apparently that's what they call it, hunting clothes. Camouflage has everything going for it, all right? It's comfortable. It's versatile, all right? If you're being chased by a bear, you can go and hide. If your buddies want to go rabbit hunting after school, you can go hunt some rabbits after school, all right? And honestly, it looks great. I mean, look at me. I look great in this sweater, I think. Anyway, moving on. If you've installed security lights on your house and garage and leave both unlocked, honestly, I don't know how much crime is committed in Kemmer, and I honestly don't know how much crime is committed in Powell, where I go to school, but I don't think it's much. And honestly, I pretty much trusted all my neighbors everywhere where I've lived, and I know them fairly well. So, yeah, that's pretty accurate. I will agree with that. If the largest traffic jam in your town centers around high school basketball, high school football, high school basketball, you guys need to understand that's this town's whole deal, all right? When the football game's going on, you better be there, all right? It's kind of a big deal, all right? Other than the county fair, that's going to be a pretty big social event. You're going to see all your friends, all right? You know, you're going to see all your people there, all right? So, yeah, I will agree with that. I wouldn't call it a traffic jam. Like 4 cars deep, that's a traffic jam. I'll agree with that. And honestly, Wyoming high schools do a great job of parking. I mean, you go to Kemmer High School, the parking lot's gigantic. I mean, the parking lot's just huge. So, yeah, I'll agree with that. If you carry jumper cables in your car and your girlfriend knows how to use them, all right. First of all, no matter where you live, carry jumper cables, all right? And, you know, I would hope, you know, your partner would know how to use jumper cables. I will hope one day my future girlfriend and my future wife knows how to use jumper cables, and if they don't, I will demonstrate to them how to use jumper cables. But that's just being smart. All right? So learn how to use jumper cables, all right? And honestly, when it's 20 degrees outside, you just want to jump your car and get on home. All right, so I'll agree with that. If there are 7 empty cars running in the parking lot at Walmart at any given time. All right, so like I said, in Kemmer we had the Jubilee. All right, and in Powell we have, you know, 2 or 3 stores. And leaving your car running in today's day and age with remote start, you know, you might see it occasionally, but you know, that whole hypothetical thing, I'm gonna leave my car running while I run inside, I think that's pretty much a thing of the past. All right, anybody who wants to not have their car or truck stolen isn't going to leave their car running. So I can't relate to that. If there are more people at work on Christmas Eve than on opening day of deer season, that is an accurate statement. And I do believe in certain parts of Wyoming, maybe in all high schools, middle schools, elementary schools now, I believe it's actually just a holiday. Like, so many kids were leaving and not there that they just made it a holiday. And honestly, you ain't going to find Joe Thornock at school on deer season. I'll tell you what. Okay, I'm not going to be there. Okay, I got to go fill the freezer, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so I sure as heck ain't going to be at school. If you design your kid's Halloween costume to fit over a snowsuit, that is an accurate thing. All right, my dad was telling me when he was a young kid, he wanted to be a football player, so he would be wearing his football outfit, but then he always had to wear a coat over it. And honestly, once the sun sets in Wyoming, no matter where you are, if it's during the fall, winter, and maybe even the spring, it's gonna be cold, so you want to wear your coat. If driving is better in the winter because the potholes are filled with snow. All right, so I know a lot of places do a great job, like the maintenance crews do a great job on the roads. And honestly, I can't really relate to this because once these potholes fill up with snow, then they turn into sheets of ice. So I'll agree with that. You know, they turn into sheets of ice, and then you don't want ice. So I've never actually had a pothole fill up with snow, but maybe it's better. I'm not sure. On to the next one. But first, cran grape. If you know all 4 seasons are almost winter, winter, still winter, and road construction. That is accurate. All right, I will agree with that. I-80 and the roads around it are always under construction. I drove out, so I was going through Cheyenne. I was going to the hot springs in Saratoga. And literally from the time I left Cheyenne to like 20 minutes before Saratoga, all the roads were under construction. All right, one lane, it wasn't that bad because, it's the road in between Cheyenne and Saratoga. But I will agree with that. That's funny. The roads are under construction a lot. I mean, and during the summer, it's the only time it's warm enough to do it. All right, so that's funny. Whoever wrote this, you got that right. If you can identify a southern or eastern accent. So my last name is Thornock, okay, Thornock, Joe Thornock. And a lot of people on the western part of Wyoming, I've heard them pronounce it Thornick. So maybe that's an accent. Maybe I have an accent. I don't know. But I don't know. I really can't identify it. Maybe. But I don't know. I don't think so. All right. If your idea of creative landscaping is a statue of a deer next to your cottonwood, first of all, that's called a mount. All right? That's called a mount. All right? You mount your deer, and you only mount it if it's really nice. All right? Nobody's mounting, unless it's like your kid's first deer, nobody's mounting a 2-point. All right? It's got to be a buck. All right, a big, mature buck. And that's when you're going to mount it. Oh, geez, I almost lost my phone. That's when you're going to mount that bad boy. All right, so it's not called, what did they call it? A statue of a deer. That's not accurate. All right, it's called a mount. Maybe they're talking about a brass statue, but maybe. If a brat is something you eat. I actually said it right, didn't I? A brat is something you eat. You see, brats, for those of you who haven't had a brat, a brat is it's everything you want a hot dog to be and everything that a hamburger sort of is. Put together, you got a brat. All right, it's like, you can buy them with cheese in it. You can buy them with jalapenos. All right, Super Bowl parties, Wyoming cowboy games. Brats are the way to go. That's funny, I actually said it right. If finding your misplaced car keys involves looking in the ignition, my grandpa owned like a 1970 Chevrolet, and he just sold it a few years ago. I don't think the keys ever left the ignition, so that's very accurate. But like I said, in today's day and age, sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes you just know. With remote starts, you got to keep your keys inside so you can start your truck. If you find 0 degrees a little warm, 0 degrees is not a little warm. 0 degrees is cold. Cold is still cold, even though it's Wyoming. I mean, then you go outside and your face gets rearranged because the wind's blowing 90 miles an hour. I remember I was on Casper Mountain, and the wind was literally blowing so bad it almost blew me over the guardrail. That's how bad the wind was blowing. That was a funny day. But yeah, I'll agree with that. If you actually understand these observations and you forward them to all your Wyoming friends, which, I mean, I technically am forwarding them to all my Wyoming friends, but I would actually agree with most of this list. This list was pretty funny. This list was pretty funny. But yeah, that's this episode of the Wyoming Guy Show, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, my next video is going to be from my dorm room in Powell, Wyoming at Northwest College. Go Trappers! And yeah, gotta get me some crayon grape. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the Wyoming Guy, and you're watching the Wyoming Guy Show. Choked on some crayon grape. Have a good day.